The Chargers were routed in a 31-14 loss to the Vikings in Minnesota Sunday. And on Monday, we heard from head coach Mike McCoy and several players. Here are 3 things you need to know. The biggest concern for this team right now is injuries. The offensive line was decimated against the Vikings, and we're not quite sure yet how that's going to shake out. And there are other injuries. Cornerbacks Jason Verrett and Brandon Flowers, we're not sure how they are. Now, Flowers was in the locker room today. He had his knee wrapped up. But you look at a guy like Craig Mager, who was behind him on the depth chart and who would have an opportunity with Flowers and Verrett being out, but he wasn't able to have that opportunity because he has a hurt hamstring. So you can see the domino effect from all of that. Now, I talked to Craig Mager today. He played against the Vikings about 6 snaps. He said on the gunner position where he's just running full force down the field. He said he felt his hamstring tighten up. They took a look at it again today. It's worse than it was last week. Center Chris Watt, another one. He had a groin injury going into the Vikings game, played a little, felt it tighten up, and then had to exit the game. Talked to him today, and he said he's looking into trying something like body tempering. This is where you take a 135-pound steel roller and you roll it on those muscles, and it helps to loosen them up and help them heal. And I point that out to say these guys are trying everything. They're at that point where they are trying all kinds of things to get their body to heal faster. But some of those things you just don't know how it's going to be until you actually get out and play. They've got to do something though, because on that offensive line, Rivers was sacked 4 times in the Bengals game, 4 times in the Vikings game. If they don't shore up that line and quick, he's going to be throwing from a gurney come week 6. Injuries are one thing, penalties are another. The Chargers had 8 penalties for 64 yards in the Bengals game, 7 penalties for 74 yards in the Vikings game. Now, sometimes that stat is overblown. Good teams can have a lot of penalties and they can overcome them. Let me give you 2 examples. The Seattle Seahawks, the year they won the Super Bowl in 2013, they led the league in penalties in the regular season. The Ravens, the year before, had the 2nd most penalties in the regular season. They went on to win the Super Bowl. So sometimes when you have a physical team, that just comes with the territory. You take the good and the bad. You know that they're going to get penalized, but they're also very aggressive and very physical. But then you take something like what happened against the Vikings, where they kicked a field goal, but because Melvin Ingram had a holding penalty, the Vikings were able to get a new set of downs and turn that into a touchdown. So instead of 3 points, now there's 7 on the board. The Chargers are not good enough to overcome those penalties like the Seahawks and the Ravens were. So they've got to find a way to limit them because they are just hurting themselves and making it harder. Speaking of making it harder on themselves, the Chargers have 8 turnovers through 3 games. 6 of those coming from quarterback Phillip Rivers. Now, it doesn't help that he's playing behind an offensive line that belongs in urgent care, and it also doesn't help that he's playing from behind. In 3 games, the Chargers have only led in 1 quarter, and that was the 4th quarter of the Lions game. Every other quarter, they've been behind. So he's having to make something happen, and that's forcing some of those throws. Rivers, yesterday, when things were going very poorly for the Chargers and they were in peril, he said that he's told his teammates, just keep playing, just keep playing. And it reminded me of my favorite little fish.
When life gets you down, you know what you gotta do?
I don't want to know what you gotta do.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
Just keep playing, just keep playing. Maybe things will get better against the Browns. From Mighty1090.com, I'm Annie Heilbrunn.